Hi, and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation. My name's Pan, aka the Greek Leek, and for this podcast, we're going to talk about the Wales squad. We'll have a deep dive into this current squad, see which players are obviously we're hoping to see in these games, and look forward to maybe some of the younger players coming through. And obviously, as well, it'd be great for you to interact and get your thoughts in on what you think of the current Welsh football team and young players coming through. So we'll have a look at the team, or the squad, sorry, for the first games coming up against Gibraltar and Slovenia. And we'll go through each of the positions, really, and look at each player. So for goalkeepers, we've got Danny Ward, Adam Davis, and Tom King. Obviously, Hennessy is injured. The story is about Hennessy, and I think it's an important one to talk about, is that he had the best game he'd ever had when we beat Ukraine. And for me, he was our best player for that game against Ukraine at home to get us to the World Cup. Absolute legend for Wales. Always gave 100%. I just think that the reports coming out are that this injury that he's currently got is quite serious. It's not a matter of days or weeks. He could be out for months. And he's getting on in years. Hasn't got a team, as in to go to. Doesn't play. I think he's out of contract. I think he was at Nottingham Forest, so he's not getting any game time. He's not getting any younger, and I think the stories are out that it may well be that Hennessy might well call it a day. Nothing else to prove for Wales, without question. Legend for Wales. So I'm thinking that Hennessy may well retire in the next couple of months. And then obviously we're looking at the three keepers who are actually in the squad. Now, Danny Ward in goal is a problem, as in, again, been at Leicester for God knows how many years and hardly played. On a huge contract, went for big money. I think it was £12 million he was signed for. But he's not been playing regular club football. And obviously, Danny Ward's aware that, Rob Page, the manager, was hoping that all players who weren't playing would go out on loan, especially before we were playing Finland and Poland. But, he is in the last year of his contract at Leicester. He is third choice keeper at Leicester. This is serious. The number one in Wales is third choice keeper for Leicester. And that is a real concern. I think, that Danny Ward now has to bite the bullet because another club who's going to come in for him, possibly lower championship, won't offer him anything like the salary he's currently on at Leicester. And I think at age 30, which is not about, he's still a young player. He's still a young goalkeeper, goalkeepers, as you know, go on till late 30s, early 40s. So there's certainly enough time for Danny Ward to improve, but he needs to play. If he went for someone like a Preston or whatever, he's playing week in, week out. He got the opportunity to be number one at Leicester. He failed miserably. But I think, as a goalkeeper, you go through different phases in your career, and he just has to be playing again. So I'd like to see Danny Ward, come to some agreement with Leicester and sort of buy out his contract, whatever it is, and find another club, because he has to be playing football. We can't have a number one Welsh goalkeeper as third choice at a football club. It's just not on. So that's my view on Danny Ward. As regards to the other two keepers, Tom King, I think, is at Wolves. Again, maybe number 3 there. He is a youngish goalkeeper, I think mid-late 20s. So again, someone that needs to go out on loan, someone who needs to get some game time. So we can't really judge these players until they're actually playing. And it, as a backup keeper, it's not easy. As you turn up for these games 99% of the time, you're not going to get a look into you. So, but he needs to be playing football. And again, for Adam Davis, a young goalkeeper, been around a bit, Barnsley and stuff, but he is fairly young, and he again needs to be playing regularly, and I think they all need to be fighting for that number one place, and if they're all actually playing for league clubs on a regular basis, I think obviously that's the most important thing for Wales, because your goalkeeper. We've had Neville South in the past, great goalkeepers in the past, but your goalkeeper is such an important position. So then you look at the defence. So Connor Roberts is picked in the squad now. Connor Roberts obviously has played for Wales for a number of years. He's still a reasonably young player, but I personally think Connor Roberts is going backwards. I don't particularly rate him for Wales, and I don't think he's played very well. I was in Qatar, I watched him against Iran. I know a number of Welsh players didn't play well that day, but I think he's I look at Connor Roberts as someone who looks unfit, doesn't look like a top footballer physically. To me, he doesn't look in shape. That might just be the way he looks. I mean, look at Shaw of England. His physical build and stuff gives that perception that he's overweight or he's carrying a few pounds. But Connor Roberts, for me, doesn't actually perform the wing back role well at all. Gets to the halfway line, always turns back, doesn't do enough. Obviously, he's scored a couple of goals for Leeds on loan from Burnley. Wasn't playing at Burnley. Had a shocker when he came on in the playoff final against Southampton. What I've heard from Leeds fans. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Connor Roberts. But again, we haven't got a lot of options at right back. I'd like to see Finn Stevens of Oxford United. I think he was at Brentford, another young player under 21s, to be given an opportunity against Gibraltar and Slovenia. Although in saying that, even though he's not picked as a defender, Wes Burns of Ipswich can play a number of different positions and can play the fullback role. I think myself, in the competitive games, we should pick Wes Burns as our right back. He's a very good attacking player, scored some amazing goals. I think one of his goals was goal of the season, I think, for Ipswich. Brazil-like, outside of his foot, curled it in the top corner. So Wes Burns, for me, should be our right back. Give him an opportunity. Okay, defensively, who knows him? But he's got to be given opportunities. And I think, these type of games should be where Rob Page experiments with players who could possibly go in that position. And as I said, right back is a weakness for Wales. So I would definitely have Wes Burns in that right back position. Then you look at the sort of the central defenders, Joe Roden. Joe Roden obviously had a good season at Leeds. Obviously disappointed they didn't go up. But at the same time, a very, very good player for Wales. And I think with him and Chris Methan, you could have arguments for either one of those, really. Not necessarily, without question, the top class central defenders, but very good central defenders for Wales. So either one of those, I would say, would be in the team. Ben Cabango, young player at Swansea. For me, question marks about whether he is that top international type defender. Still fairly young, but he has been at Swansea for a few years now. And I just think I'm not so sure about him. Maybe if he gets a move to another club, if they do have to sell him, that he could go on to another level. But I think what I've seen of him, he's not as quick as some of our other defenders. Joe Lowe is an interesting one. He's a young player. Josh Lowe's son as well. Josh Lowe used to play for Cardiff City. And Joe Lowe, physically a massive player, beast of a man. Looked pretty good in the friendly I saw when he played up at Wrexham. And I think it was against Gibraltar. But again, you can't really say much when he's playing a side like Gibraltar where we're getting a lot of the ball. But who knows? So again, it'd be nice to see him get some game time. Then obviously Ben Davies, without question, a legend. Still, I think should be in our defence, even though he's probably going to get a transfer from Spurs. Sorry, so he's probably going to find another. I think he could probably play at another Premier League club. I think other Premier League clubs would be interested in, but definitely top half of the Championship. So Ben Davies, with his experience and still a quality player, must be, in our team. James De Silva of Coventry again. I haven't really seen much of him left back. Hasn't played a lot for Coventry. Interesting one, really. Obviously qualifies for Wales, but I don't know. He's not jumping up out to say pick me in the first team. So I don't know. He's got a bit of pace about him, but sort of reminds me of the kind of Morgan Fox kind of thing where we're bringing in players as cover, really, but we're not so sure really if they're going to cut it. Ethan Ampadu, legend, best player at Leeds this season, absolute legend of Wales. I think he's better in defence for Wales than a midfielder. Interesting to hear what you think, but Ampadu has to be in the team. Then you're looking at the midfielders. Jordan James, obviously at Birmingham City, unfortunately been relegated. Was going to go to Atalanta for 5-6 million. I think he's going to end up at a top Premier League club. Excuse me, could be a West Ham, who are obviously interested in, but could end up going to Italy for a lot of money. Hell of a lot of potential. I see him as Aaron Ramsey's replacement. I know he can play 6, but I think as an 8, that's where we need to play him because we are short in that position, especially with Aaron coming to the end of his career. Josh Sheehan of Bolton Wanderers, very skillful player, one of Bolton's best players. Unfortunately, didn't go up through the playoffs, but talented, could get a transfer to a championship club. Good ability on the ball. I think someone who should be in the squad. Then we go through some of the younger players. Charlie Savage, who I think is at Reading. He's been in and out of the team, but it's got the right mentality. Obviously, his dad's Robbie Savage. I think someone who, needs to just be playing football. And again, did very well when he played for us against Gibraltar, but difficult to say when you're playing teams like that. So I think Charlie Savage is one for the future, could play in that 6 role, and then release Jordan James really in the next couple of years to a number 8 role. Charlie Crew is an interesting one. Obviously, highly regarded at Leeds, very highly rated young player. Wales, I think under 17s, he was in the Euros under 17, scored a goal, I think, recently. I'm quite surprised about this one. I'm not saying that he's not talented, but to be in the Wales squad when you haven't played a club match, although he's been in Leeds squad once or twice, I think is wrong. I think we should have waited until he played, whether that was on loan at a League One side, to see how he gets on, because I'm a little bit surprised, really, that Luke Harris, who is on loan from Fulham at Exeter, done very well at Exeter, again in League One, still a young player, highly skillful. I'm surprised that Luke Harris hasn't been picked for this squad. Be interested to hear what you think about that. Then you're looking at Ruben Colwell. Ruben Colwell, I'm a Cardiff City fan for my woes, and I've seen a lot of Ruben Colwell. He is someone who frustrates a lot of fans down the city, but has played really well for Cardiff City over the last 3 months, and I think is now a first team player. And that's credit to Ruben Colwell for being a player who wants to improve, wants to progress, needs to toughen up a bit, needs to do a bit more with regards to assists and scoring goals, but he's definitely highly talented, very, very skillful. Watch him for Wales under-21s, way above that level, scored a goal internationally as well for us. So he is someone who can score goals. And I like to see him play in these matches. I think it's a good opportunity for Ruben. I think he's old enough now. He's got a hell of a lot of experience, should be playing for Wales as well. Dan James, obviously, as far as Wales fans are concerned, really sad to see Dan miss that penalty. Wouldn't wish on anyone. Not an easy thing to do, but Dan James has to be in our first 11 or, on the bench. I'd put him in the first 11 because he's very, very pacey, dangerous, improved his passing, improved his assists, his crossing. He's definitely actually in that age range now, mid-age, where he is someone who could, who should be in the first 11. Ravi Matondo is an interesting one at Rangers. He's obviously someone who has had a few injuries, been to big clubs in the Bundesliga. He was at Man City. I think he should be given an opportunity because when he's played and been on it for Rangers, he's been very, very good, scored a few goals for them. So in these type of matches, I think Rabbi Matondo has to play. Obviously, Dan James would be the first 11 probably, but I'd like to see Rabbi Matondo play. Next is Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson, for me, £40 million to Spurs. Very, very talented lad. But, I would say it's a big but, I think for Wales, he hasn't performed as well as he should be. He should be our main man. He's not Gareth Bale, but he should be doing better and he should be scoring more goals. I don't know with Brennan Johnson in the games I've seen him in recent times at the Cardiff City Stadium that his head has been in the right place for us. And I don't know whether that's true or not, but I personally think that Brennan Johnson shouldn't be playing in these games. We're not going to really learn anything from it. I think we need to, he's had big opportunities in the big games. He is talented, he's pacey, but I think we need to learn about other players to put pressure on him, like the Rabbi Matondas. Nathan Broadhead, fantastic season at Ipswich, scored a few goals for them. Talented player, mid-20s, probably at his sort of peak of his career now. Will he get game time at Ipswich in the Premier League? Difficult to say. But, again, a very good player. Deserves to be in the Wales squad without question. Hasn't let us down when he's played for us. So there's no question that Nathan Broadhead should be there and probably should play in these games. Next, you've got Kiefer Moore. Again, fantastic servant for Wales. We're limited on the striking front, but has done really well for us. Has his he is limited in a lot of things, really. He can obviously score goals, but, he's not as talented as some of these other strikers, of course, in Europe. But, he is probably one of our better strikers. But again, in these games, we need to make sure we play Nathan Broadhead as well. I think possibly could be Keith Moore, but without question, he's got to be in the squad and would normally probably be in our first 11. Then we're looking at Liam Cullen, who is a talented player, scored a few goals for Swansea. Personally, I have question marks about him, and that's not to say that he hasn't got ability. I just think that, if you look at the striking position, we are limited. We should be really looking at these games to bring in other players from League One, etc., who might be able to step up for Wales. I know international players have said that there's a massive step up from League One to international football, but we are where we are, and unfortunately, we haven't got other strikers playing in the Premier League. We've had a look at Bradshaw at Millwall, who I don't really think is going anywhere in terms of progression. He's in his 30s now. I don't think that's the type of guy we should be bringing into the squad. We should be looking at some of the other guys who are doing really well. For example, Aaron Collins of Bolton scored a few goals. If you look at Mullen of Wrexham, who I've said in the past maybe shouldn't be in the squad, but I think, really speaking, we should give them an opportunity in these games. Have a look at them. We've got the Nations Leagues coming up. We should be looking at these players like Will Evans, who's probably going to get a championship move from Newport, even though he's on another year's contract. I think Newport financially need to sell, so he could get a championship move or a top League One move. So let's have a go. Let's bring some of these lads in. Mark Harris obviously has scored 20 goals for Oxford, who just got promoted. So the final player there we've got in the squad is Lewis Kumas. Lewis Kumas, I saw for Wales under-21s against Lithuania down in Newport. What a goal, what a player. Again, very young, very raw. Mind me a little bit of Woodburn when, he first come on the scene. But let's hope, Jason Kumas, his son, can obviously go on and have a great career. He's highly rated at Liverpool, but it's very, very difficult to get in that Liverpool first team. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but certainly Lewis Kumas is one that we have to look at. And I think, this is what I was saying about Charlie Crew, where he needs to play games. I think Lewis Kumas has played a couple of games for Liverpool, scored a goal. He's shown that he can perform. So I think he deserves a place in the squad, and I like to see him play. So it'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are on the current Welsh squad. Who you think should be in, who shouldn't be there. Are there any young players coming through who you think could obviously get into the Wales squad? I think we've got some cracking under 17 players. A guy called Braden Clark, who plays for Arsenal as a defender, could be Wales' outstanding footballer in the next 5 years. But there's a few young players coming through. I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are, how you think we're going to get on in these friendly games, and let's hear your comments. So yeah, enjoy being with you guys tonight, and look forward to seeing you again.